Welcome to the 1/6 Scale Man presents Take Your Position. How y'all doing? Now, this is the first episode of a new segment that I have now introduced to my YouTube page. Now, first and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to my man, Terry Smith. Terry has been an ongoing mentor to me. I've watched his videos on numerous occasions. He's a great guy, good friend, great friend of mine. And just watching his tutorials and also just following his lead and getting a couple of different suggestions have actually helped me out when it comes to posing figures. Now, of course, when you get most of the figures that you actually receive, it will come in a certain museum pose outside the box. Now, as you can see, my figure of choice today is none other than Mando himself. Now, this is the Beskar Deluxe version of this particular figure. Now, again, this is how you'll see him outside the box, minus the simple fact that I've already added the accessories, but this is a museum pose. Now, a lot of questioning has been towards the articulation. You know, limited articulation, fat suit at the bottom of the actual armor or under the armor. But I'm going to show you how you can actually still take that and, minus the limitations and just make a great piece of art, to be able to articulate the figure in your DTOF. We're going to pose this figure up. We're going to get something that's, take a pose that's simplistic. It's not going to damage your figure. I know a lot of people, are, really careful about how they pose their figures. They've paid a lot of money, so you don't want to damage it. You don't want to have to send it back to get a replacement piece. But at the same time, for some people, you want to kind of expel your imagination. You do want to actually have a nice looking figure in your DTOF or however you have it displayed or wherever you have it displayed. So my job today is to basically show you how you can achieve that at the highest potential. Okay, so you ready? Let's go. As you can see, we have Mando in his rare form. Now, if you look at it and if you have this figure, you would notice that, there are a few intricate pieces, some that are very delicate. Now, we want to make sure that, we are honoring the figure, how it was manufactured, and we don't want to actually cause or inflict any damage because, again, we actually have paid a lot. Now, it does have some very interesting pieces. The paint application is good, but it does actually have somewhat of a fat suit under, which does restrict a lot of articulation when it comes to this figure. But again, as I'm going to show you, we will be able to pull this off. You will be able to push the imagination, create a decent pose, and something that you can actually have long standing in your DTOF. You don't have to actually stick to museum poses. You don't have to limit yourself to museum poses. You can get great poses. You can get, some good range of motion, articulation, and the presentation in your DTOF will be fabulous. So let's jump right on in and let's get it going. So what I wish to basically accomplish today is to have Mando ready. What I mean by ready, have him in a stance where, it is a threat to any opponent or anyone who stands in his way. He has an objective. He wants to achieve that objective. But at the same time, we want to make sure that he looks like he's ready and ready to go. Now, as you already see, I have his blaster in his hand. We do basically have his blaster rifle on his back. Of course, we do have his thermal detonators on the side there. So we're going to keep as is, but what we want to do is pull off a nice little pose. Now, keep in mind, pushing it towards imagination is to also basically make sure that every vantage point is covered and that it does look really realistic. You don't want to have a pose that, isn't believable, and you have to want to actually pattern off of the way it is, in reality, how we move, how we walk, how we position ourselves, and, give it a bit swag, We're posers, so you want to basically make sure that the figure kind of gives off that same vibe. So what I'm going to do first and foremost, as you see, I do have the armor at the gun at his side. But what I want to do is give him a certain stance. Now, if you notice, and I'll put this arm out to the side there, his leg does have some great articulation out to the side. And you can basically move it up to the front, but that's basically as far as you can go. But he does have good, articulation out to the side that way. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. So first and foremost, what I'm going to do is tilt this leg somewhat like that. The ankle does have a bit of pivot, but you want to make sure that you don't push it too much because, again, you don't want to pop it off. It is basically on a ball joint, as you will see. So we want to kind of make sure, that we don't damage the figure. But again, I'm going to push the leg out to the side like that. I'm going to tilt the knee in slightly like that. As you can see, it's tilted to the side. I'm going to tilt it like that, and I'm going to stand him off to the side. Now, we have him there. With this leg, I'm going to bend it in. Now, I'm going to bend it in slightly, but I'm going to leave it positioned to where it's at. Having the ankle sort of tilted that way to whereas it's a bended knee, making this particular leg the key point because he's in his stance. Now, again, you can pull this off, but you got to have a little bit of patience with the figure because, you want to basically, and this is only for people who don't like to actually have figure stands in their DTOF. You want to tilt the figure forward a slight bit like that, just so that you have the stance and that he's ready, he's positioned, and at the same time, it's not going to actually fall over. So we do actually have that. See, easy. He's standing still. So basically what we can do is move on to the next step. Next, you can see that we actually have this arm out to the side. Now, the thing is, I don't want to actually have him like this. I want to have it to whereas he's armed and ready at all times. He's ready for battle. We want to give him that presence. The arm is tilted off the side, but we do see that blaster rifle in the back. Now, what I want to actually have is him reaching for that blaster rifle. Now, what you want to do with this arm and how you can pull this off and give it that realism is you want to pull this arm slightly out like this. Now, mind you, it is on a butterfly joint, so you can achieve that. You want to take the armor, kind of tilt it down like that, pull this arm out to the side, bring it forward. Now, you want to bend this elbow joint, bring this arm slightly back like that. Again, we want him reaching. So you can achieve that like this. Now, pull that up slightly, make sure that arm, and this, now mind you, these pads basically are attached by Velcro. So if it falls off, don't worry, you can put it back on. Now, the blaster rifle is on his back. Now, I'm gonna turn this around so you can actually see. The way the blaster rifle is, it has a piece that sticks outside of the cape like that and attaches through the hole in the back of the cape. And if you see here, the rifle is mainly still attached to the front of his utility belt. Now, I'm going to keep that there. I want to keep that attached so it doesn't, if it falls, at least it's still attached there. But what I'm going to do is detach this piece so the blaster rifle is free flowing. So what we're going to do is bring this hand back like so, just enough. And I'm going to take this blaster rifle piece and tilt that right in there like that. Okay, so he's grabbing that rifle, he's ready to go. So he has it, he's ready. Now, with his head tilted to the side, because again, I want to create a level of realism. I want to tilt his head because it is on a ball joint, but I want to tilt it to the side like that. Now, mind you, he does, and I'm going to move this down a slight bit. There is basically a bit of torso rotation in this, but remember, we have that fat suit here. So the thing is, you have to be careful. You want to be careful when you do this, but again, you want to create that realism. But if you don't want to move it, you can sort of like trick the camera, which means you can tilt that figure slightly this way, to whereas you can see him reaching for the blaster again. We see him reaching for that blaster. He's pulling the outside of his back, strap still attached, but we do have it to whereas he's ready. Now, with this particular arm here, we're going to show you what to do later. But what I want to do is make sure that the positioning is right now. Following Terry, like I said, he's my guy. He always wants to basically create that level of realism. So we're going to pan out slightly. We want to basically make sure, let me get this here. You want to make sure, and as you can see, there is that bit of realism. He does have his head parallel this way, arm that way, and he's already basically in his stance. So he's ready. Now, with this particular arm right here, how I want to do it is I want to bring this slightly back. Oops, as you can see, like I told you, It is a very delicate piece. So the hand kind of fell off, but don't mind. It's on a ball joint again. We could pop that back in like so. And there we go. Still ready. Just want to make sure that's actually secure. So what you want to do is bring the arm slightly back like that. And this is symbolizing, and I want to actually bring the gauntlet forward because you don't want that joint to show. But this is symbolizing as if he has already unholstered his gun or his pistol and he's ready to go. Now what you can do is you can actually stick it out sort of slightly like that. I want to make sure that that pistol is there. There we go. Ready. There we go, and we have that bang. Now, again, we do have him slightly pushed forward. Again, we have that foot at the bottom here. As we actually go down, you can see. And as we kind of reach in, you can actually see, sorry, I'm gonna go down here. So I want you to pay attention to this. You can see how basically the ankle is tilted to the side, slightly to the ground, but it still basically provides enough positioning to whereas it's angled up, and it does create that realism to whereas you can actually see he is in a normal stance. Some of us, even when you're ready to actually do battle in reality, you know, you might stay in a position yourself and ready for him. So we do actually have him like that. Now, as you can see, the way I actually have him positioned, and we'll pan out a bit, it isn't to the point where it's messing up this figure. Mind you, these aren't seamless arms. They are jointed arms that we actually have that come with this figure. So you don't actually have to worry about any articulation issues or even damaging the arm. All this is a fat suit that's actually under it. But again, you know, you are able to, again, push past the limits. But at the same time, you are able to still maintain that presence. Your figure's safe, everything is there, but you're just giving him a bit more. So it's just taking him from a standard museum pose to something that's a bit more dynamic, giving him a bit more action. And bam, there we go. Still a safe pose. You don't have to basically worry about damaging this figure, and he looks nice in your DTOF. Just like that, okay? Something simple, not really too much. At the same time, you have the presence. We tilt his head slightly like that, tilt it down. You have that presence. You have Mando. He's ready to go. He's armed. He's dangerous. And he's like, yo, come at me. And there you have it. No problem. See? As easy as that. So just rock with me and trust me. Now, one last thing I want to do basically before we actually complete this video is to show you now. As you can see, it does come with an actual cape. Now, I know most of us, some of us, have wanted to actually have this figure with a wired cape, but I'm going to show you how you can still achieve presence with the figure, even though it doesn't actually have wired cape. We can actually make the cape itself a character. Now, it's not much. It's just basically a simple rotation of the actual cape and draping it around the body to where it looks like it is in action. It is dynamic as he's moving. The cape is basically moving with him. And so it's not just flushed in the back. Now, mind you, he is taking the gun or the blaster rifle from his back. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this piece of the cape right here, and we'll actually zoom in so you can see that. This piece of the cape right here, slightly, and I'm draping it around the front of his leg, like so. Now, you may wonder, now, you know, basically, if you even have a jacket or whatever in front of you, it will basically move with you. It moves with the current as you move, especially if it's like a long trench coat. And what I want to give is just the image of the simple fact that, number one, he already has the pistol or his blaster rifle in hand, like so. But in moving around, the cape itself is moving, which is basically thrust across his leg in the front slightly. Now, if we turn the figure around, you'll see basically how dynamic it looks. So I'm going to slightly bring him around this way, draping the cape like so. Again, what we basically pan out. You do get a chance to see how that looks. Even from behind, that looks badass. Still looks crazy though. Crazy nice. He's in his stance. He's ready to go. You see that he has that rifle in hand. Leg out to the side. This leg here. And the cape, already basically it does have the pleats in it. It's pleated a certain way. Just thrust across his leg, giving him a bit more presence. So it's just all about basically putting the final touches on your figure. As you can see, I did change the lights a bit so we can get a bit of a silhouette, but also, you know, kind of bring out that armor a bit more, darken it, give it a bit of realism, give that character, this figure, more presence. And he's ready. Turn him back around here. Yeah. Like so. And there you have it. Your boy Mando. And he's ready to do battle. And he's ready for y'all, people. Now, what makes Mando such an interesting character is the mystery. And the mystery that he creates. His presence alone is menacing. He does pose a threat, even without seeing his face. And I think that's what we try to capture with this figure. Hot Toys did a great job of giving this figure presence. And even for, I guess, certain limitations that people might experience, again, just remember, it's all about having the right imagination, looking at the figure to see how you want to articulate from your perspective, from your vantage point, and pulling off great poses. And I think you can still do that. Like I said, this is the Mando Deluxe Beskar version, so it does come with Grogu. So you can actually have him next to Grogu as well. But in this particular video, I just wanted to have Mando as a standalone. I think he's a great figure. I think that if you have him, you know, you'll see that he's great as well. You can pull off so many different dynamic poses. There is great range of motion in this particular figure. And you don't have to basically just settle for, you know, just certain museum poses. You can get exactly what you want, how you want it. And yeah, bring a bit of pizzazz to your DTOF, man. Again, like I said, this is Mando, the great Mando. If you have him in hand, again, I know you enjoy the figure just like I have. You can get this, I guess, still get it through Sideshow, as I believe it's still available. I will put the link at the bottom of this video where you can actually get yours as well. Again, this is the first segmented video and actually the first segment of a new show that I'm actually introducing entitled Take Your Position. Thank you for joining me. As always, if you like my video, as always, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. As always, prepare for my next video. LR for the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube page, signing off, and thank you for being here. As always, Mando Dinjarin himself in all his glory. Enjoy, people. And again, take your position.